Breaking news, Mitch McConnell is stepping down as the Republican Senate Majority Leader, and we're going to talk about that today and more on Speechless. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I'm your host, Phares, 23-year-old conservative college activist and host of Speechless, not only on the radio, but also right here on YouTube. So make sure you do not miss a minute of it by liking this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share this with your friends, and all that fun stuff. But make sure you comment on this one, guys. What do you guys think about Mitch McConnell stepping down? Good, bad, and who should replace him? Who should replace him? But yes, Mitch McConnell, the Republican Senate Majority Leader, is stepping down as the Republican leader. According to Fox News, the Republican from Kentucky, who is the longest serving party leader in Senate history, announced today, that he will step down from the leadership in November. But that's the caveat. It's not happening until November. So don't necessarily get your drinks out right now. Don't go have a huge party tonight, because it's not happening till November. McConnell, who turned 82 last week, announced his decision in the well of the Senate shortly after noon Eastern time, a place where he looked in awe from its back benches in 1985 when he arrived, and where he grew increasingly comfortable in the front row seat afforded to the party leaders. He said, quote, "One of life's most underappreciated talents is to know when it's time to move on to life's next chapter. So I stand before you today to say that this will be my last term as Republican leader of the Senate." Now, this dramatic decision, which will set up a leadership election in the GOP conference with several likely candidates, comes as Republicans have expressed increasing discontent with McConnell. And when I say increasing discontent, I'm not exaggerating. If anything, that's likely an understatement. Because McConnell, in his handling of the bipartisan border bill and national security supplemental packages that included aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, were less than inspiring and more wins for Democrats than they even were for Republicans. But I'm not the only one that's been unhappy with Mitch McConnell. The majority of Republicans, and especially those that are labeled ultra-right MAGA extremists, are also unhappy with McConnell, seeing him as no better than a Democrat as he consistently seeks to aid himself more than others. And what exactly do I mean by that? Well, considering the fact that the average Senate salary is around $174,000 per year, which I would already say is probably too much, and Mitch McConnell's current net worth is approximately $35 million, yes, he has been in the Senate for 40 years. But to amass the wealth that he has would not be the same as the amount of money that he's been earning per year. There's no doubt in my mind, as he's ruled in the Senate and over the years that he has sought to advance himself before advancing any of the American people. McConnell became a senator in 1985, and he was born in 1942, and is currently 82 years old. Basically, half of his life he has spent in the Senate. This is the definition of the swamp, as Trump coined the term back in 2015. Now, when we look at what exactly Mitch has done, more recently, his resume isn't particularly great. Just this last year, over the summer, McConnell went viral for this clip of him. People are, well, I can't even really tell you what he's doing in this. This is a press conference. And this is exactly what happened. Let's take a flashback here real quick and take a look and a listen right here.
This week has been good bipartisan cooperation and a string of
What happened, Mitch? What's going on? Did you crap your pants? No. Anything? Nothing? Standing there in silence. This is what happens when we turn our government into a nursing home.
Anything else you want to say? Or should I just go back to
My God, are the Depends full? Come on, bud. Mid-sentence. And this wasn't the only time that this happened.
Could you address what happened at the start of the press conference?
Now, this is him coming back.
Related to your injury from earlier this year where you suffered a concussion, is that? fine, you're fully able to
Yeah.
do your job.
Mr. Leader, can I just get
When asked what happened, I'm fine. Clearly not. Clearly not. The exact same thing happened at another press conference, I believe only like 2 weeks later, in which he was literally being asked the question of, hey, do you think you're too old for this position? Are you going to step down? And he just went silent, just like that, just staring off into space. What's going on? And the sad reality is, while I'll make fun of it, it's the fact that this very well could be early, if not later, stages of dementia. And this is, and so to an extent, I feel bad, but at the same time, I can't, because the people are continuously putting him through this. People are enabling this behavior by not only voting for him, but also family that allows this to happen to him as well. And so it's absolutely insane, but don't feel bad for Mitch too much, considering the fact that he literally blocked Trump from from pardoning Julian Assange, an absolute truth teller. And so take a look and a listen at this clip from Tucker Carlson just right before Trump ended his presidency, in which he exposes exactly what McConnell did on the eve of Trump ending his presidency. Take a look and a listen here.
To prison. And in both cases tonight, as one of his final acts as president, Donald Trump has the opportunity to make that right, to pardon both of them. We told you that last night. We told you it before. We're hearing tonight that neither man, particularly Julian Assange, we don't know if this is true, is likely to get a pardon. Why? Well, apparently because Republicans in the Senate, and by Republicans in the Senate, we mean Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, the leader of Republicans in the Senate, has sent word over to the White House. If you pardon Julian Assange, we are much more likely to convict you in an impeachment trial. Now, is it legal to hold that over a president's head? We're not lawyers. We don't know. It's certainly wrong. But more than that, it tells you everything about their priorities. At a time when this country in some ways is coming apart, we're at a pivot point in American history. And if you're watching this show, you probably feel pretty threatened, and for good reason. There are people on the other channels saying they're going to hunt you down like a terrorist. At that moment, what is Mitch McConnell, your designated defender in the United States Senate, worrying about? He's worrying about protecting the uniparty in Washington, not his party and the Democratic Party in permanent Washington. They're the reason both these men have been locked up, because both these men embarrassed permanent Washington. That's their crime. And his priority in the final hours of the Trump administration is to make certain that they remain punished for doing that.
Mitch McConnell has no doubt become an emblematic individual of the swamp, if not the swamp creature. I mean, he even looks like a turtle. Might as well be a swamp creature. If it looks like it's a swamp creature and acts like a swamp creature and sounds like a swamp creature, and woof, if it smells like a swamp creature, it's probably a swamp creature. But the sad thing is not only is Mitch McConnell the emblem of what a swamp creature is nowadays and the kind of person we want to get out of DC, he's also emblematic of what DC can do to an individual, of what this kind of power and facade of leadership can do to somebody. Here's a clip that's been going viral as everybody has been saying good riddance to Mitch on social media. That's a sad thing too, is you serve all this time. You obviously serve yourself, and everybody is praising your decision to step down. That's how you know, even while you'll say, I know when it's my time to step down. Maybe it's a little late there, Mitch. But look back at this clip in 1987, not too long after he began his tenure in the Senate, and what he was exactly talking about, what he was advocating for then. I can tell you, it's a much different tune than giving money to Ukraine, Israel, or anywhere else. At one point, Mitch McConnell was America first. And here's that example.
Mr. President's election day in Kentucky. And I suspect on this election day, as on many election days over the last 100 years or so, in some areas of my state, people are attempting to buy votes, sell votes, intimidate voters, and in general, distort the election process. Earlier in my life, I taught on a part-time basis a course called American Political Parties and Elections. We talked about with the students the election fraud problems in some areas of this country. It is clearly not a problem everywhere. But in certain areas of our country, particularly rural one-party areas in the South, and in certain big cities in the Midwest and in the North, again, places where one party tends to dominate, this is an ongoing problem. Some have even felt that it might have determined the outcome of the presidential election in 1960 between Nixon and Kennedy. There was much written and said about election fraud in Chicago that might well have turned Illinois in Kennedy's direction rather than in Nixon's. I might say I've had my own experience as an election challenger. I recall 20 years ago in 1967 in a governor's race in Kentucky, being dispatched as a challenger to a one-party precinct, being threatened with physical harm, watching voters being intimidated and pushed around. It's a problem that has persisted in my state. I can recall in 1981, Mr. President, when I was running for re-election for a local office, the polls showed me in a certain area of my community with 40% support. And on election day, it ended up being 17%. And I wondered what happened between the Friday before the election and the Tuesday of the election that made that much support just evaporate like that. And then in 1984, Mr. President, when I ran for the United States Senate, I recall being up literally all night, constructing telegrams, trying to get the cooperation of federal prosecutors to encourage people not to steal the election.
And that is what Mitch McConnell used to fight for. However, his tune was much different when we saw a very similar instance in a more recent history that YouTube won't allow me to talk about because we live in a time in which bringing that up now is just as controversial as it was back then. However, while Mitch at one point sought to destroy the uniparty, he was pushed into line. He allowed himself to be pushed in line. What I do want to point out, everybody, is while Mitch showed exactly what the swamp is, he is leaving. And we've had a lot of successes when it comes to draining the swamp, at least in the Republican side of it. Paul Ryan, gone. Liz Cheney, gone. Mitt Romney, Adam Kinzinger, Kevin McCarthy, gone, gone, and gone. Most recently, Ronna McDaniel, and now Mitch McConnell, gone. The swamp is being drained, everybody, at least of Republicans. Now let's get on the Democrats and keep on going. Everybody, let me know, who do you think should replace Mitch McConnell as the Senate Republican Majority Leader come November? I'm curious. Take this as a win and take it as a warning for what could happen in the future. If you like this video, everybody, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, all that fun stuff. God bless you. God bless America. And until next time, you've been watching Speechless.